So Ronel, over to you.
Thank you, Charlotte. And yes, like Charlotte said, a warm welcome, or I should maybe not say warm because it's extremely cold here in Centurion. But I'm really excited to spend a bit of time with you this evening. I'm obviously very passionate about finances, so to me it's always great to talk about finances and to help people to just look differently at their finances and to help people to build a financially sound business, because I think that is what it is all about. We do not want to be in business. We want to know that we are actually achieving some successes as well. So welcome, and I hope you're going to enjoy this session together with us. And yeah, I think then to start off, if you look at the screen, then you can see I have there a picture of one of our rooms in I own a guest house, and that says faith and keep the faith. And I think that is such an important message for all of us during this period, because all of us have been impacted in some way, and some people more extensively than others. But I think the best that we can do is to keep the faith during this period and to really just see how we can get back up after all of this, and what lessons can we learn and what can we implement going forward to build stronger businesses and to be in a better position if something like this has to happen again. So I quickly want to, let me just check. Okay, on this one, I'm going to give you just about 20 seconds or so. I would like to encourage you to quickly take a picture, take your cell phone and take a picture of either the screen or what you are seeing now, or a selfie with the screen in the background, or you can be as creative as you would like. And then you keep that picture. You don't need to do anything with it right now, because at the end of the presentation, I'm going to tell you what you can do with that picture, and then we are going to choose one lucky winner who will win a special prize at the end of this evening. So if you can quickly just take a picture for those of you who would like to participate and win a prize. And yes, then I'm going to move on. Then you don't need to do anything with the picture now, so you can focus on the presentation, and then we will tell you afterwards what you can do with your picture. Okay, so I want you to think for a second about your finances. Now, this can include your personal financial situation as well as your business finances. And how do you feel about your finances at the moment? And I would like you to share in the chat box. Please share with us so that we can have a look. Do you feel like in picture A, where you are actually happy and excited thinking about your finances, you are like that picture at the bottom, there's more than enough money, you don't need to stress about money, and money is just flowing and everything is going really well with your finances? Or do you feel like picture B, if you think about your finances, where you are sometimes feeling overwhelmed and you don't know what to look at, and you feel stressed at the moment because you are maybe not earning an income or earning a reduced income, you feel uncertain, and you maybe feel sometimes your money just disappeared, you don't know what happened to it. So how do you feel about your finances? Number A or number B? let me have, I see there's a nice comment. I feel like I'm holding my breath and saying my prayers. That is a very valid comment. Yeah, B. I just see B's here. And I think this is a very valid statement. I think a lot of people feel like that at the moment. And I think it could also be that your situation might have changed. If I maybe ask you the same question about 3 or 4 months ago, you might have chosen A, or you might have leaned more towards A, but now with the current situation, I think the majority of people is in B. So let's see what we can do about that this evening. So I just want to, just quickly want to share with you a little bit more about myself and my background. For those of you who don't know me, I am a chartered accountant. I have spent about 14 years at a large listed corporate. Now that included the top 4 big banks, asset managers, all the big insurance companies, investment companies. So I do have a lot of experience specifically in the financial services industry. And there I've really learned how those big guns out there, how do they manage their finances? What do they do? What do they look at? How do they analyze? What processes and controls do they have in place? And in the end of 2015, when I've started my own company, Financially Fit Life, where I do financial consulting and training for businesses, but also for personal finances, I can really use that knowledge and experience that I've built up over the years to bring that back to your smaller and medium-sized businesses, and really add a lot of value to help them with their finances as well. Because you often find in the smaller to medium-sized companies, they do not always have the expertise and the resources to really spend a lot of time and money on financial management. And so I almost see myself as kind of a financial director, or playing a chief financial officer kind of role to many smaller to medium-sized businesses. Then I've also been a WAS Women in Finance finalist earlier this year, with something which I'm very proud about. I'm the author of Financially Fit and Wealthy, a book about personal finances. And then I'm also the co-owner of a Seek Fit guest house in Centurion, together with my sister.
Well, Ronel, thank you very much for that introduction. And, you know, I know that you are spending a tremendous amount of time looking after the assets of other people. But I see that you started a guest house. Why would you start a guest house, considering that you were working in finance? What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, Charlotte, I think that is quite an interesting story, because both my sister and myself, I'm in finance, my sister is a psychologist, so we haven't had any experience within the hospitality industry when we started it. But some of the reasons why we've bought into this idea of starting a guest house is to create an additional source of income. And I think that is such an important thing that entrepreneurs need to do, to not only rely on one source of income. And that could be various different things in terms of starting other businesses, investments, properties, all those kind of things. But that is important to have an additional source of income. And then what we also saw with the guest house is that can obviously, at a later stage or where it is currently, it can run independently from us, and we don't need to really spend all of our time running it and managing it. And I think that is actually what most or many entrepreneurs strive towards, is to have something that can run independently and they can receive a passive income source without having to spend all their time working all day long. And I think then thirdly, also it was for us about creating something for our retirement in addition to our current retirement savings with our retirement annuities. Because I think that's also something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. They are not, because they are not in a position necessarily where they are almost forced to contribute to a retirement annuity or pension fund or something on a monthly basis. That is something that I see quite often that's neglected by many entrepreneurs. And I think that is some of the reasons why we've decided to start the guest house. And yeah, tonight I would like to share with you a little bit more about the guest house, because you can obviously think that's in one of the industries that's been heavily affected. And I want to tell you, give you a little bit of background about our guest house, because then you can see during the presentation, you can have background as to why I'm saying certain things. Now, we've started in 2016, and I think a lot of us, if you think about owning a guest house, you have this very idyllic kind of picture in your head. You know, it's almost, you think about holiday, travel, island, something really exotic and stunning. And our experience in that first year was everything but a fairy tale. It was really a nightmare. I think the first year was just horrendous. And there's one picture to prove to you. We had in the first year, we had 4 geysers that burst. That was after one geyser burst and the whole room was destroyed. So we had so many setbacks, especially during that first year. And with us being a fully female owned and managed guest house, that was really, really tough. You know, if the plumber comes out and he tells you, go switch off the water supply to the house, and you as ladies don't have any clue where you need to go and find this water supply. And it was really, really tough and difficult. And I think most of us go through those phases. But it was also, I think there was a lot of success coming out of our story with the guest house, because we had Joyce and Eva joining us as cleaners at that stage. And you can see there some of the first pictures before we opened. There they show Hope and Dream. That's 2 of the names of our guest rooms. And I think that's where we started. We had a dream and we had hope that we can achieve that dream. Now, then we obviously, we sent Eva on a lot of cooking courses because she had this dream of becoming a chef, and Joyce we sent on a lot of computer courses because she would love to be more involved in office administration. And that was just a beautiful story unfolding from there. There you can see a picture in 2017 and 18. We ran an internship program for the students from the Down Syndrome Association in South Africa, where Joyce and Eva basically taught them some basic skills to be able to work in the hospitality industry. Now that was again, for us making an impact in the bigger community and giving these children hope that they can go and actually find jobs after finishing the school career. And there's another picture of the four of us at the end of last year when we were the GWorld Businesswomen of the Year runner-up. And I think if you just look at those pictures from the first one up until the last one, you can just see the transformation in Joyce and Eva, how much they have grown and developed during this period. So I think it's much more than just a financially success story. It's really of people growing and developing and understanding what their dreams and aspirations are, and equipping them to get to what they want to achieve in life as well. Now, just to give you a bit more background in terms of how the guest house performed, in the first year, we were obviously making a loss because the capital outlay of opening up a guest house is absolutely huge. There were 9 bedrooms, 10 bathrooms to be furnished. So it was, and we obviously, when we started out, we had a guest house, but we had no guests. So we literally had to start from scratch and start building up a database. Now then, from year 1, where we're making a loss, within year 2 and year 3, we actually have grown 200% in revenue. So we had really a big growth story there, and we have started to see much more of this fairy tale picture that we had in mind when we started off. So in 2019, 2020, which was basically our 4th year in business, we made our full year target after just 9 months. And then I was in Cape Town the last year up until end of April this year for a financial consulting project. And Eva and Joyce were pretty much managing the guest house on their own together with my sister while I was in Cape Town. And that could just tell you how much they have grown and developed, that they could actually go from cleaners to being in a position where they can manage the guest house. And then we had in January 2020, this year, we have actually doubled our revenue from 2019 January. And so that was for us tremendous. We were definitely on a high. We could see the business growing, and yeah, that was just absolutely amazing. And I think then all of us know what happened next. In March 2020, it was announced that we are going into lockdown, and we were still fully booked that weekend, and that Sunday the first announcement was made, and obviously the whole business was just dead thereafter. And yeah, what a absolute shock and a disappointment, and yeah, it was just really, really horrible.
Now, looking at these statistics that you've just shown in terms of the growth of your guest house as a business, it's really remarkable how much you grew from the first to the third year is 200% in growth. And you were clearly on a high in January when you already doubled your revenue from 2019. What was the biggest financial lessons that you learned during lockdown?
Charlotte, I think it is definitely that, and that goes for both your business as well as your personal finances, that it pretty much depends on, you must get yourself in the best possible financial situation going into a situation like this. And I think that is really what helped us. We have spent so much time during the past couple of years on our managing our finances and growing our profits and growing our balance sheet, and make sure that we are in a strong position in terms of cash flow. And that is really, I would say, the biggest thing that pulled us through during these couple of months. And that is similar to with your personal finances as well. It doesn't help you wait until a situation happens and then you want to try and scramble around and try to see how you can survive it. It is all about how well you prepare yourself for a situation like this, that when something like this happens, you are prepared and you can be as strong as possible going into that situation. And that is actually what I would like to share with you this evening in terms of what are those kind of things that really helped us to be in a good position going into this lockdown period. So what we are going to discuss this evening is, first of all, why your accountant never told you how to manage your finances, why chasing sales can cause financial difficulty, 3 practical ways to immediately improve your cash flow, and what you can do to keep your business financially sound even during a pandemic. Now, I am going to use our guest house to give you a couple of practical examples as well as we go along, so that you can just get perspective in terms of what I am sharing. So first of all, why your accountant never told you how to manage your finances. Now, I experienced this a lot with many of my clients. When I go to help them, then a lot of them would say, okay, but why did my accountant never told me this? Or I do have an accountant and I believe that is all that I need to do in terms of my financial management. Or they would say the accountant is not that involved. So you often get different views and perspectives in terms of an accountant when you deal with businesses. Now, if you just need to understand, or I want you to understand that picture so that you can, going forward, make more informed decisions. Now, if you look at that picture, then you would see that accounting is actually just a small piece of the bigger puzzle, if I can call it that. Accounting basically focuses on your record keeping, your financial statements, your compliance in terms of SARS, your VAT returns. And those are the typical functions that your accountant will perform, whether you have an in-house accountant or whether you have outsourced the function to somebody else. But that's also sometimes when business owners do their own finances, then they pretty much do that portion, and then they think that is everything that is required for financial success. But your business finances actually requires a lot more, or is much bigger and much wider than only the accounting aspect. And even if you think about what we as accountants would study during on varsity, accounting is just one subject. There's financial management, cash management, cost management, all those additional subjects that you still need to study. And if you are actually paying your accountant, you are paying him or her to do that portion. But in terms of your broader financial management, your accountant will not do that or necessarily help you with that, because that's not in their scope of work. And I think that is where a lot of businesses go wrong. They don't spend time on these additional things that's really important from a financial management point of view. And that includes things like your management accounting, your analysis and decision making, your cost management, your budgets, your forecasting, financial processes and controls. And I think once you add your accounting to the financial management, then only you start seeing real financial success within your business. And that is when everything starts getting together and you are starting to build a business that's profitable, that's financially sound, that's generating good cash flow. And then your business can start to grow a lot better because you have everything in place. Now, sometimes people would think, but my business is still too small. That's absolutely not true. I mean, even in our first year at the guest house, when we were still making a loss, we have spent a lot of time on our financial management, and we could see the impact of that in year 2 and year 3 and year 4. So I would like to definitely, your accounting should be kind of an input into your bigger financial process, and together with the rest of your financial management, then you will start building financial success within your business. So financial success of your business is your responsibility. It is definitely not your accountant or your financial manager or your tax consultant or whoever's responsibility. You as the business owner is responsible for your financial success, and you therefore need to equip yourself with the knowledge to really be able to manage your business well when it comes to finances. And to also, you need to spend some time on your finances. Now, then I'm not saying you now need to do the accounting or you now need to do the budgets and all of that. You can get people to do that for you and to provide you with the information, but you need to take that information and the results, and you need to know how to use it to make proper decisions and how to analyze it and make that or use that for your business to grow. Now, who of you can identify with this picture, where you sometimes feel you are on this little wheel, like almost like a rat or a mouse, and you are just running and running, and it feels to you you are getting absolutely nowhere. So I would like to see in the chat box, tell me if you can identify with this. It feels to you you are chasing business, you are chasing sales the whole month, and next month it just starts over again, and you don't know what happened to your money, you don't know where you are going, it feels like you are not growing, it feels like you actually don't know how are you going to get out of this mess and how you can just improve your business and start to feel a bit less stressed about chasing business and chasing sales all the time. I see quite a lot of yeses, definitely, often. So yes, I see lots of yeses there, and I think a lot of us, especially in that first year, I could have definitely identified with this picture. Now, okay, so let's think about why chasing sales can actually cause financial difficulty. Now, that is because a lot of people are so busy in their businesses to chase sales and chase business that they actually have no time to spend on the other important aspects of a business. They don't have time to spend on the financial management of their business. They don't have time to analyze their business. They don't have time to look into the strategic aspects of the business, because they are just literally running and trying to get more clients, get more customers, get more sales in. Another very important thing is that I see a lot at many of my clients is that people are chasing sales that aren't profitable. And they think they are achieving a lot because they are making sales targets and the revenue is growing, and it just overall it looks okay and it looks as if everything is going well, but they still don't get off this wheel. No matter how much they are spending time on chasing sales, it just doesn't get better. And that is where a lot of businesses quite often have a problem with the costing and the pricing of their products and their services. And I think especially with entrepreneurs, we often tend to undervalue ourselves. We think, okay, let me rather put a cheaper price out there because more people will buy it then. And we often have that kind of mindset, or we do not really go and calculate what is the real cost and what should the real price of my product or service be. I just look at what the competitor is doing, and then I just set my price to be a little bit lower than that competitor. But you might be in a complete different situation than that competitor, and now you are actually selling your products and services at a loss, and that is why you are not making progress. So that's something, and it's quite scientific in terms of to really understand how to do your costing and your pricing, and people should really spend time on that to understand it and make sure that they know what's the correct price to charge, especially for services. I think that's quite difficult to really know how much should you put on kind of like in selling your time. And then another thing is, and I find that also quite a lot, is that business owners do get sales in, so the money and the cash flow is coming in, but then the financial management is lacking. So actually today in a financial consulting session, I had comments again where people say, but I do make good money, but I don't know what happened to my money. My money just seems to disappear. And I think that is also what a lot of people are experiencing, is that the underlying foundation is not always set and correct, and that is where the problem is. And if those kind of things are not in place, then you can sell 1 million of your products on a daily basis. But if that financial management foundation is not correct, or if you're costing, you're actually selling it at a loss, then it doesn't matter how much you are selling, because you are not going to get off that wheel. So let me quickly share with you 3 practical ways to immediately improve your cash flow that you can apply right now. So that's obviously, there's lots of things when it comes to managing cash flow and managing it more effectively, but I'm just going to share 3 quick things that's relatively easy to implement and to do. Now, the one thing that I see, especially with smaller to medium-sized businesses, is that I would sometimes, because I always try to support smaller and medium-sized businesses, even at the guest house, in terms of supplying us. And then I find, but I will order something or buy something, and I only receive the invoice 2 weeks later, or sometimes at the end of the month, or sometimes I actually even have to ask, listen, where's my invoice? And I think that is something that businesses really need to relook at in terms of when they are sending out their invoicing, to try and send it much more frequently, especially in this period where you want your cash to come into your business as quick as possible. So if you maybe in the past only had time at the end of the month or the end of the week to do your invoicing, rather change it during this period and try to invoice on a daily basis, or try to, whenever you have a big order coming in, get your invoice out immediately so that you can get that cash in quicker. Then also in terms of your methods of payment, give your client or your customer sufficient methods in terms of how they can pay. What we found with the guest house, the more methods we started to introduce, the more guests we have received, because now we all of a sudden, it was, they could pay cash, they could pay with credit card, they could pay with EFT, they could pay online, and it just makes it easier, because a lot of clients and customers will sometimes prefer a certain method, and if you are not providing them with that method, they will use somebody else. Or another thing that you can do is to put a payment link on your invoice. That is actually, whenever they open the invoice, then there's already a link that they can click on and they can immediately make payments. Because sometimes you will send an invoice, they will look at it, and then they will close it again and they forget about it, and only at the end of the week or in 2 weeks' time, they remember they must actually pay you. If you give it to them and it's kind of when it's fresh and they look at it and they can immediately just use that link and they can pay, that makes a world of difference in terms of how quickly you can get your cash into your business. So those are some of the things that we do and that we find that's really working very well. Then also, if you are not currently in kind of an upfront cash model where you get your cash in upfront, you can also consider to request a deposit. Whenever they do business with you, instead of first waiting to deliver your product, or you first finish your project or your service and then only you invoice them, you can change that and say, okay, I will start with your project or whatever I need to do, but can I please have a 25% deposit up front? Because then you already get cash in, and your risk of having outstanding debtors is becoming smaller, because you already have received a portion of your money. It's not that you will end up doing a whole project or deliver all the service and then the client or the customer don't pay you. And then in terms of your outflows, one thing that's really working well is to implement multiple accounts in terms of bank accounts. Now that is where you can say, for example, you need to pay tax or you need to pay VAT in maybe 2 months' time, that you go and whenever you receive the money, you go and allocate the tax or the VAT portion of that and put it away in that account, so that whenever you need it and you need to make that big payment, then you have that money available and you don't need to scramble around trying to find some money. I've seen this with my sister as well. She started her private practice about, I think it was about 9 years ago. And at that point, I already said to her, take 53% of whatever you are receiving into your business and put that away into your tax account, and then it makes it easier. And for her, her business has grown tremendously, and she never has problems of now she needs to pay tax and she doesn't have the money. So you can consider something like a call account or a money market account to basically take your outflows, and even if you only need to pay a supplier at the end of the month for quite a big amount, try to move that to a call account, and only when you need to make that payment, bring it back to your operational bank account and make the payment. Because remember, with creditors, we always want to try and extend the payments as long as possible, or defer it. Okay, so what can you do to keep your business financially sound even during a pandemic? Now, I think this was our biggest saving grace in this period, was the fact that we had an emergency fund. And I think that was something that literally when we started out in the first year and going into the second year, that was the first thing that I've focused on. When we started to get some money in, we have started to put money aside in our emergency fund, and I've built it up over time so that I could delve into that. And that was definitely during this period, because I had that fund available, I could obviously use that to pay the salaries, to pay the water and electricity, to pay all the big expenses that we still need to pay during this time when we are not having any guests or receiving any income. Now, obviously, this can also apply to your personal financial situation. That's equally important to have your emergency fund there as well. So I'm not going to, for the interest in time, going to spend a lot of time on these 4 accounts that I'm actually listing here. I usually do that when I do financial consulting, to explain to you how to build that up. But that is something that's really important. And I've found that with all my clients and even other businesses, the ones who had the least amount of stress during this period are the ones who had an emergency fund in place. Then secondly, in terms of to be conservative when you are making profits. I see there's a lot happening at clients. We start working with them and they're starting to make more profit, getting more cash into the business. And then when I get there 2 months later and I said, how's it going? No, it's actually going so well. We bought this new bakkie, and it's like, why your other bakkies still looked perfect? No, but we had some cash. And that's actually defeating the purpose. Don't kind of like, whenever you start making money, or you have some extra cash available, you feel you need to spend it on something. I think that is why so many people also say, but we make good money, we make our sales targets, but it seems we never have money. So be conservative, put money away, rather build up your balance sheet, build up a strong financially sound business, and then wait a bit until you are ready before you start spending money on maybe expansions or new websites or whatever. So be more conservative and thoughtful with your spending. Then another thing that I teach a lot of my clients is in terms of sometimes you make micro decisions, but it actually gives you macro results. And then sometimes you think, but oh, this is so small, I'm not going to bother about this or about that. But that decision might sound small, but it can give you a much bigger impact if you go and apply that decision. Now, to just give you an example of the guest house, we obviously have a credit card machine. Now, I think most of you will know credit card machines can become quite expensive in terms of the monthly rental, as well as your credit card costs that relates to your transactions. And then a while ago, we have decided, but we can actually implement an online payment system, which is actually a lot cheaper. So that online payment system cost us 150 Rand a month, while our credit card machine, the rental, cost us 450 Rand a month. So there we are actually saving 300 Rand a month. Now you might think, oh, that's a bit small, I'm not going to worry about that. But what was happening there is we first of all have a 3,600 Rand saving over a year because of that 300 Rand saving a month. But then what's actually going as a result of that decision, where previously we had quite a big number of no-shows where people would book, but then they are not pitching and they haven't paid because they would only come and pay with the credit card or cash at the guest house. Now then obviously you have booked the room out, you cannot at that late stage now try to find another guest, and you are actually losing a lot of money because of that. While now they are paying up front when they book, and we know they have paid. So if they for some reason don't show up, then we have received our money. So we're no longer losing out on all of that money. The other result of that is we also no longer have bad debt, because now we don't need to afterwards chase the people for money because they maybe haven't paid yet. Now they pay up front. And we in the previous year, we had amounts of 27,000 and so that we had to write off because the guests just never paid. Now, this year, 2019-2020, we didn't have 1 cent that was outstanding at the end of the year. So then you see that small decision in terms of 300 Rand a month that you are saving is actually becoming much bigger, and it's making a much bigger impact in your business. Then also to think in terms of focus on both profitability as well as cash flow. What we found at the guest house is in our first and second year, we sometimes had guests who would book on a longer term, and then obviously in your first year, if you are not having a lot of guests, you are so desperate for business, so you give them a good discount if they book for a month or 6 weeks, because you're so glad to have some guests, and your occupancy rate looks great because now you obviously have these people staying for 30 days or 45 days, and you think it's great. I'm now receiving all of this money, but if you are actually go and do the calculations, then you realize those people are actually using water and electricity every day. They use the coffee and the tea and the milk and everything every day. They use the Wi-Fi and the DSTV and everything. And then when I did the calculations, I realized that we are actually selling that business at a loss. So even though we might think it is working well and we have a lot of business, we are almost paying for that guest to stay here, which is absolutely not acceptable. And if it wasn't for the fact that I was looking at our financial results on a frequent basis, I wouldn't have picked it up. And now we no longer do those big discounts for the long-term guests, because quite often it is better for you to not have a sale than having a sale that's actually selling at a loss. And if you are not analyzing your finances, you will quite often not pick up on these type of things. And then another thing is to spend time on analyzing your financial results. And this actually is and in addition to what I've just said, people or business owners, I find that, and that's coming back to the accounting, that quite often they just think once the accountant give them their financial statements, that's the end of it, and then they don't need to do anything with it. You actually need to use that result to make decisions for your business. And it's not only about the financial statements, because I know many business owners feel that's too complicated and it's only available once a year, but you need to introduce management accounts within your business that can help you to really analyze your business, to make sound financial decisions, and to really manage your business much more effectively. So there really is a lot more to all of this than what we are just thinking in terms of it's only accounting, or I don't really need to spend a lot of time on my finances, or it's not really my responsibility, I don't like finances. Now, I would, after sharing all of this with you, I would actually like to know, just want to see, who of you is keen to build a business that thrives financially and wants to know how I help my other clients to build financially sound businesses? You can share with me in the chat box. Are you keen on building a business that thrives financially? Let me see, we have there, yes, 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 for sure. So let us look into what are the typical things that I'm helping my clients with. Just remember to keep your picture. We are soon going to tell you what you need to do with the picture to win your prize. So what would I typically do with my clients? Okay, this is typically what I would do. I would spend, say, for example, 4 sessions of 1 hour each in a group financial consulting session, which is online, on Zoom, in the comfort of your own home. And there we would really go and discuss financially sound principles and how you can apply those principles in your business to become financially sound and to build a stronger business. We also there look at some cash flow management strategies. There's a lot of strategies that you can actually apply in your business, and that really helps you to get your cash flow managed much more effective and to get your cash flow up and running, so that when something like this happens, you do have cash available and you don't need to stress about not having cash. Also, how to really measure your cash and how to monitor your cash, so that you know, so that you have a better process in place in terms of your inflows and your outflows. Then we also look at analyzing financial results. How can you use your monthly financial results, your profit reports, your financial statements? You can look at some ratios. How can you, as the business owner, use that to make better decisions? And that is, like I said, if you have an accountant or somebody who provides you with that information, that you actually know what to look out for. What are the things that you expect to see? And if it doesn't look like that, then you should ask the questions. Why is my sales not moving in the same relation to my marketing expense? You should know what are those things in your business that you really need to look out for to manage it more effectively. Then apart from that, I also give them a roadmap for businesses to thrive financially, because there's obviously finances is huge, and you cannot always cover a lot of it in a session like this evening. So it's just to give them a much bigger picture. We also do a financial health pre-assessment so that we can determine where are they currently with their finances and how financially healthy are they. There's also a guide to improve business cash flow, which got quite a lot of nice information in that you can apply in your business. There's also a cash flow statement template that you can use in your business to manage your cash. And then I also put in like a financially fit and wealthy ebook. So that is basically my book on personal financial management. And the reason I'm adding this to this package is because you cannot look at your business finances and your personal finances in isolation. And you quite often find that people who are struggling a bit with their business finances and they don't know how to manage that, they also in their personal financial capacity sometimes struggle to manage their finances effectively. So that is just to also help you to get your personal finances also up and running and in a better financial position. So what is typically the value of this? So this is not, this is what you will, if you go to somebody else or out there in the market, what will you typically pay for it outside in the market, the value? So the group financial consulting sessions is about 4,000, the roadmap 750, the financial health pre-assessment 250, the guide is 300, the cash flow statement template is 300, and the financially fit and wealthy ebook is 150 Rand. Now, so the total value of this whole package would be 5,750 Rand. Now, I usually charge my clients about 4,500, so I give them a bit of discount, giving them more value than what they are actually paying for. But Charlotte asked me very nicely, and she said, this is a difficult period for many business owners. What's really the best price that I can offer to the people attending this webinar so that we can help them with their finances during this difficult time? And I really basically said, okay, this is really the best price that I can offer, and that would be 1,797. So if you want to join that group after this session, that we are going to do all of this that I've discussed just now, then we can offer that to you for only 1,797 Rand. Now, what are the terms and conditions? I don't take a large group because I obviously want to spend maximum time with you and make sure that I can get to everybody's questions and everybody's businesses, and I can give you maximum value. So I usually take about 6 people maximum in a group like this. This offer will only be valid until Monday, the 29th of June at 7 o'clock in the evening. So it is a limited offer. I'm not doing it all the time. So it's only till Monday, the 29th of June. And obviously, I give my everything to make sure that you get a lot of value from this, and that you can walk out of these 4 sessions knowing that you have improved your financial position. And because I know that I do provide a lot of value, I do offer a 14-day money back guarantee. So if you during this time find that it's not working for you, or it's not what you expected, you are not happy, I'm more than happy to refund you all your money without any questions asked, because I know I will do my best to get you where you want to be. So if you are interested in taking up this offer, I will ask Charlotte to also share the link in the chat box. You can go to financiallyfitlife.coza/was. So that is financiallyfitlife.coza/was. And there you can take up this offer if you would like to become part of this special group. I had another group this afternoon from another session, and they only had good feedback about it, and they've really learned a lot. So that is what you can do. We will also send an email tomorrow morning with the link and with all the details again for you to look at. And then it brings me to our competition, where we said, please take a picture. Now, I would like to ask you that if you have enjoyed this session, please go on your social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, after this session, and go post your picture And then please use the hashtags Women of Stature, Financially Fit Life, and Thrive Financially. I'm repeating it, Women of Stature, Financially Fit Life, and Thrive Financially. Go put that in your post, and then I will, tomorrow morning, I will select one person who has done this, and that person will win an effective budgeting online course which focuses more on personal finances, but you can apply a lot of the principles for your business budget as well, to the value of 1,650 Rand. So we would really like you to get active on social media. Tell us whether you have enjoyed the session, did you learn something, would you recommend it to somebody else? And I will, in tomorrow's email, I will basically announce the winner of this prize. So please go and do that after this session. And that is everything from my side for this evening session. I really hope that you have received some good value, that you will be able to go and apply some of these principles to your business, and that you can really use that to build a financially sound business, and that you can get back up after what's happening currently, and that you can thrive financially going forward. So thanks a lot for joining us. I'm going to hand back to Charlotte, and then we can just look at if there's any questions. We still have some time and we can have a look at that. So thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Ronel, and thank you very much for the very sound advice that you've already given us. This is the second time that I'm sitting through the presentation with Ronel, and honestly, each time I pick up new and very valuable information and advice. I do see that we have a question here. The person is on Jenny's iPhone, so I'm not exactly sure who that person is. Ronel, she asks, would you have a separate budget account to the tax account? Budget as is business running costs.
Surely the way is it?
It's quite far, maybe just. Yeah, it's quite far up. She's from Jenny's iPhone. So if Jenny's iPhone, if you want to maybe just unmute yourself and come on video that Ronel can see who she's speaking to.
Yeah, maybe just if you can explain a little bit more.
Are you still with us, Jenny's phone? Okay, it would seem as though she's no longer with us, so that maybe we can just, when we do go back with emails, then maybe we can just add that as an answer.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's see if there's anybody else. All right. Okay, there's no other questions here as such, Ronel, but I'm sure tomorrow when we're sending out the email, as you've said, further information or more on this will go out to you all. There is a recording of this particular webinar that is also uploaded to be able to send it off to you on an email with the link as well. So if you want to go over it again and refresh your memory as to what Ronel shared with you tonight. But Ronel, thank you so much for this excellent offer. Oh my goodness. I mean, if I just look at what you would normally charge and what you have been so willing to actually reduce the price specifically for the lockdown period, I think this is tremendous value for money. And if there's anybody that's not taking it up now, then I think they are going to be running themselves into, you know, a disfavor. So I really would like to encourage everybody, because this is a limited offer. As you saw, it's only valid until Monday at 7 o'clock. And also because, Ronel, you did say that you have a limited number of people that you want in a session at one time, because you obviously want to be, it needs to be quite, you know, quite a personal interaction with them as well. So I just see, no, there's just very good comments coming back. Thank you, Ronel. It was indeed amazing. That's from Bosizwe Mogasi. Yes, Joseph, you asked, could you share a video recording? Yes, as I've said, we are going to be sharing the video recording. Milani, thanks, Ronel. I have really learned from this amazing session. Yes, valuable presentation. Let's see what other content. Marissa, thank you, Ronel, and was Lydia Jolly. Hi, Lydia, so glad you joined us. Fantastic. So she's saying, thank you, Ronel, and lots of thanks coming from a lot of people. I've also asked, I see I've also asked everybody to please like the Women of Stature Facebook page. If you like the page, then it means that you will be able to receive a lot of our information that is on Facebook as well. I'm just going to send it again to everybody to say, please like the Facebook page. And then I have also, Ronel, put the website address as well, the financiallyfitlife.co.za. I did put it into the chat box. So anybody that wants to pick up on it, you can just collect it from the chat box. And then I see quite a few people said that they do want to take up your offer. So I'm sure you're going to get quite a bit of response here. Great. So we are at 8:15. Is there anything that anybody would still like to ask Ronel? Anybody want to put up their hand, unmute, come on video, want to ask Ronel a question? We still have a few minutes spare. Okay. Ronel, it seems as though everybody seems to be happy with what they've heard, and I'm sure if they want any more information, they will be in contact with either you or with me. So thanks again to everybody, and thank you, Ronel, again for an excellent presentation. And yeah, let's see how many of our people take up this opportunity to learn from one of the best. So thank you so much. Good night to everybody. Stay warm, stay safe, and wherever you go, you know the mask. The mask. At the moment, it's all about the masked man and masked woman. So have a good evening and sleep tight. Bye-bye.